Governor, please start the conference.
Good morning to you in Japan and good evening from Boston. I'm Mike Dukakis, the chairman of the Boston Global Forum, and it's a pleasure once again to be part of what we hope will be a constructive addition to the discussion around our current issues with North Korea and the threat once again of nuclear war. And let me begin by saying thanks to all of you who have been a part of this and continue to be a part of this. A special thank you to Tuan Nguyen, who is the person that really created the Boston Global Forum and made it possible for us and makes it possible for us to be part of this. And I look forward to his returning to Boston in a few days and a full morning session of the Boston Global Forum this coming Saturday, when he'll have a chance to report back to us on your deliberations and on what we conceivably can do to help this process. Nobody more than the Japanese people should know just how terrible the threat of nuclear war is. I remember as a young GI in Korea coming to Japan and going to Hiroshima and witnessing what had happened. I've never forgotten it. And I think every single one of us on this planet should understand just how terrible that threat is and why it's so important that we work together through diplomacy, not through war, to resolve these issues. And we have seen that diplomacy done right works. The historic nuclear agreement with Iran, in which the United Nations Security Council, including China and Russia, played major roles, I think is one of the great diplomatic achievements of my lifetime. It wouldn't have happened without the collaboration of the UN, the Security Council, and particularly of the 15 nations that use the same institution process to resolve this. In fact, if you know, the solution to this back in the administration, when mostly with North Korea, before North Korea obtained nuclear weapons, for a variety of reasons with which we are all familiar. A lot of it having to do with the election of a new administration in Washington. That historic achievement. And here we are again, years later, finding ourselves debating the same issues, dealing with the same risk and the same threat to the future of the planet, at the very time that climate change itself is creating huge problems. We certainly don't need another one, and we certainly don't need nuclear warfare. So I hope in your deliberations, and I want to express my gratitude to all of you for being a part of this. I hope we can explore some ways where collectively we can help to resolve this issue. We seem to have done it once, some 17 years ago. I see no reason why we can't do it again. But it will take the strong effort of all of us collaboratively to make that happen. And I hope that as you discuss this today and share with us your recommendations, we can all move forward on this big contemplate in any way the possibility of nuclear warfare and a kind of reckless talk about nuclear warfare, frankly, on many sides, seems to me to be just unacceptable. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for spending the time and effort to help all of us look for solutions. And I can assure you that the results of this meeting that you are having will be very important to us as we discuss the details at the end of this coming week. Thank you. and we look forward to working with you.
Who is your turn?
Okay. あるんです。つながってる。じゃあ、つながってます。じゃあ、こちら。Thank you, Governor Dukakis. Wonderful message from Boston. I'm very happy to have such wonderful, great intellectuals gathered here today. Welcome to GCEN Reconciliation Conference in Tokyo. Look at my jacket. This season grape is very delicious. So I try very grape. I'm Nobuo Mita, the representative of the Boston Global Forum Japan and the representative of Global Citizenship Education Network Japan. September 9 was established as Reconciliation Day by GCEN. We are holding concerts in Boston, Tokyo, Vietnam, and Korea. We are holding concert in Tokyo, Mr. Varga, who is the main principal cellist of Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. And with Rika Miyatani, she got the prize at the International Chopin Concours. And only 10 Japanese could get this prize in history. Her piano was amazing, it's amazing. And Waseda University students, Waseda Glee Club will perform for us. Waseda Glee Club is top of the students chorus group in Japan. And by chance, they collaborate with Harvard students this January. They will perform for us. I'm very honored and very happy. And GCEN was established by BGF, UCLA, and UNESCO. The former candidates of the Democratic Party for the US President, Governor Michael Dukakis, is our representative. And Mr. Twan, our CEO, who was the successful IT businessman in Vietnam, and is an advisory board member for Harvard Business School. And I'd like to appreciate also Dr. Stefan Greb here on behalf of Germany ambassador to Japan. Please welcome him as a big applause. And GCEN strives to solve ongoing conflicts all over the world, and to achieve world peace and peaceful international order that have been preserved for a long time, but have recently been distorted. I think it's important that countries with same value collaborate and work and construct new world order. War should never ever take place again. The countries must understand each other. Let us look beyond current daily affair, understand the historical proceedings. and discovered history through concrete evidence, not propaganda. Our generation's responsibility to pass down true history to the next generation. This is important that because a country is composed of individuals. A country's decision is eventually done by individuals. So I believe that the global citizenship education is a very pressing issue today. Today, we will discuss an extremely pressing issue, how to solve a North Korea issue. Ambassador Fujisaki-san is a very kind man and full of humor. So please relax and we discuss what we really think. I hope GCEN Reconciliation Conference will be a fruitful one. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce today's attendees. Vice Admiral Fumio Ota, former professor at the Defense Academy of Japan, former Vice Admiral, former Director, Defense Intelligence Headquarters. Dr. Tsuneo Watanabe, Senior Research Fellow of the Sasagawa Peace Foundation, Adjunct Fellow of CSIS, and Ambassador Shunji Yanai, a member of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, ITLOS, in Hamburg, Germany, former Japanese ambassador to the USA, former chair of the Security Legislation Experts Meeting, Ambassador Ichiro Fujisaki, today's moderator, former Japanese ambassador to the USA, president of America's Japan Society in Japan, Professor Sophia University and Keio University, and Dr. Stefan Grafhaer, Dr. Stefan Grafhaer, Minister and Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany in Tokyo, Japan. Ambassador Masatoshi Muto, former Japanese ambassador to Korea. And Professor Yasuyo Sakata, Professor of International Relations, the Kanda University of International Studies, KUIS, Tokyo, Japan. Thank you.
Oh.
Like 2 hours, so what I try to film very early by taxi. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
もう一回どこでもいい。はい。
That's very lucky. We are on time. Even 2 hours delay flight by China control air zone. So we sit on plane already prepared to fly, but so we inform cannot fly because of China control air. So we have to stand sit on more than 2 hours on plane, Japan Airlines in Hanoi. But now everything okay. Thank you so much. Today, on behalf of Michael Dukakis, Governor Michael Dukakis of Boston Global Forum and Global Citizenship Education Network, I'm so honored to be here. That place 3 years ago, we announced Boston Global Forum in Japan, and we have to say, Governor Michael Dukakis and Harvard MIT professor in Boston Global Forum, so honored and proud about Japan, our fan in Japan, about achievement we contribute for the work from Boston Global Forum in Japan. And as a professor and Ambassador Fujisaki Janai and our friends here today. And today, first, I would like to say North Korea issue is make our very attention and sometimes dangerous for the world today. And that topic, how we do. And we do World Reconciliation Day initiative is an official initiative from Boston Global Forum and Global Citizenship Education Network and UNESCO chair on global learning and global citizenship education to foster and try to find out solution for peace and security in the world. Japan and a very important role in the world today, especially in ASEAN country. And we are recognized as Japan is, we have many potential, many resources and also experience and solution to show, to raise and contribute solution for solve North Korea. And I hope today we learn a lot and we have great ideas and solution, and we will continue raise and introduce our discussion today in Harvard Global World Reconciliation Day, September 9. So on behalf of Governor Michael Dukakis and leaders of Boston Global Forum, again, hey, thanks so much for Nobimita Sia, that Japan should proud about her with great patriotism and great Japan spirit and great contribution for Boston Global Forum and Global Citizenship Education Network. And we are very thankful for all our friends here. And in the second part, I have chance to honor and appreciate your contribution for the work and Boston Global Forum. And I hope and I believe we have great idea solution to contribute for the work. And we will announce on World Reconciliation Day in Harvard, September 9. Thank you so much.
Presentation.
Yeah, yeah,
けどこのままするときだけずっと。
もう始めていいんですか？水田さん、もう始めていいの？
もちろんです。じゃあお願いいたします。よろしくお願いします。Let's get started.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is a beautiful day, and it's a reconciliation day. We'd like to discuss this North Korean issue with these pundits around. As Ito-san said, you have ambassadors, you have ministers, you have doctors, professors, but let's just address each other as son. That's easier. So it's Ito-san, Gebhardt-san. Now, we will discuss in two parts. First, we'll discuss how we can change the course of North Korea. Second part, if we have time, it's going to be short time, but we'll discuss as its reconciliation, can we improve our relations with our neighbors like the Republic of Korea, China? In the first part, we'll ask you to go around, starting from Watanabe-san and go around the table to Sakata-san. And second part, we'll start from Sakata-san. Each of you will have 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll open up the discussion and people will raise your flag and make your comments. The reason we'd like to limit the first intervention to 3 or 4 minutes is that we'd like to make it interactive discussion. Now, the first question is how really can we change the course of discussion, the course of North Korea? 4 elements, questions. What are they really thinking, North Korea? Are they really seeking for peaceful solution, negotiations with the United States and others? Second part, can we really make China seriously engaged in sanctions, embargoes, including oil? Third, President Trump has always said everything is on the table. All the options are on the table. Are military options on the table, and is that really feasible? Fourth, what can Japan do in this situation? You don't have to address all the 4 questions, but you can choose 1 or 2. And let's start discussion. If I can ask from Watanabe-san.
Thank you very much, Fujisaki-san. I'm Watanabe. Well, I'm not a doctor in a political scientist, so that's correction. But I'm a doctor in a dental surgery, so I can live with some pain in your mouth and how to prevent the serious more trouble in the pain in the Northeast Asia. That's the really difficult one, and I'd like to touch the U.S. intention, especially the military side. I'm not sure, of course, the Trump administration may have some military option, feasible one, especially kind of surgical strikes, and remove the nuclear facility, missile facility, without a big casualty in Korean people or Japanese people. That's very, very questionable. But at the same time, of course, I understand the US and allied countries need to put pressure over Moscow. That's one thing we need to think about. And first, I'd like to complain about the US, especially as a US election cycle. As the Governor Dukakis may understand more than anybody, US has an election 1 in 4 years and discuss about many foreign policy, including Korean Peninsula policy. And I observed in the past 20 years, and that is US policy was really, really not straight and not strategic, because in each 4 years, the US administration policy keep changing. And sometimes such policy was affected by the election cycle. That was a really bad, and giving North Korea has a very advantage. And also, I think US and other country may have had some false assumption, especially in 20 years ago. I remember US experts and the government official presumed the North Korean regime would collapse soon. And that presumption was really bad, because sometimes US and other allied countries didn't take it seriously. The North Korea would acquire the nuclear capability, which could reach to the United States. And that nightmare is coming soon. So that is a really bad one. And how to deal with this kind of issue? Of course, military action is a worst option if it's not really feasible without a big casualty. So that is my first talk. So let's think about it. What kind of a diplomatic solution?
I'm sorry, you were saying that nuclear option is not desirable, but what are you suggesting? I'm sorry, sir.
I'm suggesting is let's consider I think how to make it strategic, the policy toward North Korea, straight to US policy.
Can you specify your proposal?
My proposal is let's discuss about the past failure of a US policy and consider the policy which would not be affected by the election cycle. I understand that's very difficult, but that is my proposal.
Thank you very much. Oda-san?
Yes, I'm a hardliner, so I'd like to mention about military action. North Korea launched the Hwasong-12 flying over Japan and crashed into the Pacific Ocean weeks ago. Kim Jong-un stated that we terrified long-standing grudge against Japan and ordered the further ballistic missile launching toward Pacific Ocean over Japan, which means prelude for another planning toward Guam Island. Since he had no intention to dialogue, we cannot afford to say reconciliation with North Korea. Japanese government repeatedly mentioned that we should avoid dialogue, only aiming to dialogue. Current North Korean problem is very difficult to resolve by diplomatic means, because North Korea will never give up her nuclear as well as the ballistic missile development. And the international community, especially the United States, will never allow doing so. Due to the recent Fox survey, more than half Americans and 73% of Republicans want to attack North Korea. The former Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, proposed in July for North Korea to possess 10 to 12 nuclear weapons and freeze developing carrier capability for North Korea. Since Japan is, however, already within current North Korean ballistic missile range, the resolution means Japan must sustain North Korean threat, but the United States will not. The resolution would not accept from Japanese standpoint, and that means decoupling between the United States and Japan alliance. Considering back to the first Korean crisis during 1993 to 94, the United States should attack North Korea because they did not possess nuclear weapons at that time. The United States, as well as international community, including Japan, have who paid $500 million to North Korea light reactor, betrayed by the North Korea who owned the time. That means North Korea will develop more nuclear weapons and further long-range ballistic missile development. If the United States will not attack and destroy North Korean nuclear as well as carrier capabilities. When North Korea possesses such capabilities, Japan will face serious national security threat because Japan defense capability consists on defense capability and the United States offensive capability, which become unreliable. Of course, Japan and South Korea will suffer North Korea attack when the United States attack North Korea, but the situation would be better than the future cases. Therefore, my solution is that the United States should attack North Korea. The sooner is the better. The most optimistic solution would be to destroy North Korea's weapon mass destruction capabilities without suffering attackers, so-called left of lunch or kill chain. Those would be decapitating supreme commander or preemptive attack before North Korea will attack on Japan and South Korea. Just remove this, my computer, yes. Yeah. This attack will be done by the US military capabilities such as B-111 bunker buster and the B-61-7 White Area Sweeper, which B-2 bomber demonstrated at October 6 last year, right after North Korea conducted ICBM engine test. The US has been developing further capable the bomb, such as B-61, next one, B-61-12, which China is really sensitive. This is the People Daily newspaper a couple days ago. The US cannot attack North Korea without reason. If North Korea attack Guam, however, that could be good reason to respond. In other words, the US is looking for another power case, or US may declare no-fly zone over North Korea because repeated ballistic missile rounds have been causing serious threat to regional peace and security, such as civilian air flight as well as fishing activities. Some no-fly zones have been launched north and south of Iraq in 1991. This is very difficult to intercept ballistic missiles during their boost phase. However, armed aerial vehicle with high energy reserve can be done. The latest Quantum 12 launch may be single warhead, but Quantum 14 cooperating with Pakistani's Ababil, which has multiple warheads and will be launched soon. Because North Korea already launched Quantum 12, 14 by its lofted trajectory splashed into Japanese EEZ in July. That means it is extremely difficult to intercept by the current ballistic missile defense system of Japan, in addition to North Korean intentional saturated attack. I believe that the US should prepare for not only ballistic missile defense, but also striking capability for enemy bases or ballistic missile launching site. But the latest defense budget proposal for next year did not mention even for the survey, which frustrated me. What is the end state? This is a discussion, division plan discussion with North Korea by Land Corporation or American Land Corporation and Chinese think tank last April. The Chinese think tank holds a dual line north of Pyongyang, and the United States controls that. But United States saying that we have to control the North Korean side, including Yongbyon, and that is one of the ideas. Also here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think Oda-san said, although there could be some casualties, sooner the better for the military attack. But do you think this devastated North Korean leader would not really launch missile or nuclear and destroy the area. That was the fear that a lot of people were saying.
Yes.
Do you think that could be controlled?
Control. Yes, that is B61 trial can be done. That's it.
Okay,
Why
we'll
yes,
discuss
yes,
that.
yes.
Tuan-san, would you like to come in and make comments? Or shall we ask NI-san to?
Yes, so,
Okay, yeah, NI-san.
Well, thank you very much. Well, as to your very first question, I think Kim Jong-un's ultimate intention or goal is to reunify the Korean Peninsula under his control or under the control of North Korea with the threat of nuclear weapons. Perhaps North Korea would like to come to the negotiation table with the United States. Well, in other words, they would try to draw on the United States to a negotiation table. But I think the purpose of such a negotiation would be to conclude perhaps a peace treaty with the United States. But that is to gain time for the reunification of the Korean Peninsula under its control. So that is a nightmare, and we should do everything possible to prevent North Korea from reuniting the Korean Peninsula, which will be nuclear armed and under control of North Korea. Of course, dialogue is desirable, but we should not have an illusion that North Korea would renounce nuclear weapons or missile capabilities. Another option would be to freeze the nuclear and missile development at this stage. But that is also an illusion. I think North Korea will never accept that proposal. And even if North Korea accepted the freezing of the nuclear and missile development, in consideration of huge compensation from our side, US, Japan, and South Korea. But there will be no means of verifying the freezing of the nuclear and missile development. In light of the experience we had in the past, in the 1990s nuclear crisis, as a result of negotiations between North Korea and the United States, the so-called framework agreement was concluded, but North Korea ignored all the provisions later, and it ignored the whole agreement. And they gained time to develop the nuclear and missile capabilities, which we are observing, unfortunately. Have I spoken already 3 minutes? Okay. What should I?
Maybe you said we should not have illusion that they will renounce nuclear arms or even freeze. Then what shall we do?
Then I think I'm very pessimistic about any negotiation with North Korea. And what we should do is to face North Korea, nuclear armed North Korea. So what we can do possibly is to keep a balance of fear between us and North Korea with nuclear weapon missiles. So in order to keep balance, we have to redouble our efforts for missile defense or other defense capabilities to enhance deterrence against North Korea.
Thank you very much. Viktor-san, please.
Yeah, Fujisaki-san, thank you very much. And thank you very much to GCEN and Boston Global Forum for the invitation to join you here on this wonderful day today. Perhaps three remarks that come along your questions. First remark as far as the domestic situation in DPRK is concerned. Second remark as far as international consequences are implied. And the third remark, short glimpse as far as the German or the European Union policy towards this international crisis is concerned. So first of all, as far as the situation in DPRK is concerned, of course, everybody has only scarce information, so we do, but what we can see is there seems to be some sort of stabilization of the system as far as the economic situation also is concerned. There's a slow increase of welfare and a slow increase of a better economic situation in DPRK. So that's at least what some people feel. The private sector is a little bit expanding. And so there seems to be some sort of more stability. The second point is that as far as the regime, the leading persons are concerned, we don't see any longer more moderate people in the leading range of DPRK. So that means the hawks and those who are directed at a more military system and expanding the missile program, they are clear dominating in the DPRK system. So that's, I think, what we have to take into account when we look at the current situation in DPRK. Second point, as far as international consequences are concerned, this is no regional crisis. This has been and is a global crisis. It's a global crisis not only because there's the threat that the intercontinental ballistic missiles can reach not only the United States, but they might also go in the direction of other regions and continents. But it's also an international and global crisis because we have to deal with the issue of proliferation. So that means what the existing proliferation and treaty, what's its future and what's the idea about, what's our vision about preventing more proliferation. So to say, this crisis in this region with a global impact is also embedded in the overall situation. How can we avoid more proliferation in our existing world? And this comes again under the backdrop of the international order that in general terms is contested and is under scrutiny. So we have to find new elements for the international order. For example, like we have the G4, that's Japan, Brazil, India, and Germany. We are advocating for reform of the United Nations Security Council. So I think we have a global crisis, really deep regional impact, but also global impact, and it's embedded in a global process of challenging and changing the world, and we have to face this. So third remark, as far as Germany and the European Union is concerned, Germany's policy has a clear principle. We are a strong economic and political country, but we can't do without partners. So that holds true for our integration within the European Union and also our multilateral approach that we follow in each of different crises, be it Syria, be it other places. We have a clear idea, and that's our clear principle, that Germany has some responsibility, not only within our borders, we have elections, for example, end of September, but we have a clear responsibility beyond our borders. So that gives us a clear scope for every global problem. Of course, our capacities are quite limited, but that's our political vision and our political goal we are following. And that means also the crisis we have in this region is we have a clear focus on this crisis, and we want to find some solution within the framework also of our European partners. And one of the examples, and perhaps we can discuss this later, is the situation we had with Iran. This was the European Union, Germany and others who tried to strike a deal with Iran, and at the end we were successful. So that's our way we want to go. Of course, I differ from what Ota-san has said as far as the military approach at the moment is concerned, but of course, I quite agree that we need a double approach, a double track. That means to increase our pressure. We think that sanctions are not exhausted yet. We can discuss this later. But at the same time, we have to follow a clear path of finding out what kind of diplomatic solution we can find. I agree with Yanai-san that this is quite difficult, but that's our view, double approach, to have more pressure, to have better implementations of sanctions, and also to offer some diplomatic negotiations in this field. So this would be my 3 points.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, P6. I'm very honored to be part of this conference. North Korea is always an issue that has no answers, and I'm very interested to hear your views on this issue. I fully agree with Yanai-san that North Korea's final intention is to unify the Korean Peninsula on their own terms. But in the meantime, their goal is to make the United States accept that North Korea is a nuclear armed country. If they ever come to a talk, I think the only reason why they come to a talk is to make US accept them as a nuclear armed state. And they will never give up nuclear development program. We cannot use force to do it because the casualties will be too big. I think that the only way we can do so is they would not do it willingly. I think we have to make them compelled to do it or remove the top of that regime. To compel them to do it, simple United Nations sanction does not work. Because, for example, they are now facing this year the worst famine in decades. But the regime doesn't care. They use their funds to develop nuclear and missile capabilities. So simply squeezing their funding does not work. The only thing that might work is to ban export of oil to them. And that will cripple their military capabilities. Or maybe remove Kim Jong-un. If there's any replacement, it will have to come from Kim Il-sung's families. And it might be the person who might be now in Netherlands. But in any case, China is most important. I saw in the paper that Dr. Henry Kissinger said that if US and China can agree on the future of Korea, North Korea, then we might have a better chance. I fully agree with that. I think it is important for the United States and China to talk about the future of Korea. China would not comply with the sanctions because they do not want North Korea to be destabilized. And they want to keep certain control over North Korea. So if the United States and China can agree that China will not lose certain influence on North Korea, then there might be more chances of doing it. And if we fail to do so, then we will have to face a very serious situation, as Ambassador Yana said. They want to make Korea Peninsula North Korea. This is a nightmare for us. And even if we don't come to that situation, well, how can we live with nuclear armed North Korea? There are several discussions. In South Korea, some people say that they can trade acceptance of nuclear weapons with abandoning of the development of ICBM. Well, it might work for the United States, but for Japan, it doesn't help because they already have missiles capability to bring, to deliver nuclear bombs to Japan. There are some talks about peace treaty, about withdrawal of UN forces from Korea. That is also a nightmare for us. So we have to start thinking what we are going to do if we have to face a discussion and if we have to face nuclear-armed North Korea. And as Ambassador Yanai said, we have to build our defense capabilities for such nuclear-armed North Korea. Thank you.
Sakata-san, please.
Yes, thank you very much for being able to participate in this distinguished conference. My starting position would be that basically I agree with what's been said, and I think that I hope that people in the United States understand how insecure Japan feels at this point as a non-nuclear power. So that being said, we must find a realistic approach to this, and I am inclined, as has been said by others on the panel, that we should pursue a double track of pressure and dialogue, and of course, as has been said, the dialogue approach is none of those options are good options for Japan, none of them. Military option, the sanctions options, yes, we will keep it going up, but they'll keep on shooting missiles at us. So that's not a good option. And also the diplomatic option is none of the choices are a good option unless it's a complete and verifiable process. But at the moment, we will not be able to, realistically speaking, as has been said, it would be very unrealistic right now to get a deal for a denuclearized North Korea right front. So I am inclined to, to explore the option of diplomacy. And right now we are in the pressure stage, and we need to put maximum pressure on North Korea at this point. But we also need to find a way to diffuse the tension and cap and reduce the nuclear threat, missile threat, realistically. So I'm hoping to find some good wisdom from the panelists here. Last point, at the same time, if we are to pursue a diplomatic approach, we need to have the military security in place. And one of the problems that we face right now in Japan is that is the United States feeling the same security threat as Japan is feeling? And it's very right to feel the ICBM threat and to be prepared for that. And that is also part of the US-Japan alliance agenda. But before that, we faced this really big regional threat of medium range and intermediate range threat that just went over Hokkaido. So that insecurity, whether the US will what kind of commitment, security commitment will the US provide Japan and allies, South Korea as well, on these regional threats, local threats. Unless if we don't feel secure, we cannot go to the dialogue option. So sanctions and also military security is a foundation in order to figure out if there is any realistic approach to diplomacy. So that's my basic point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Listening to this discussion, I think there were 3 or 4 points that occurred. One was that the proposal or the support to military option, saying that it's better sooner than later. However, some thought this is not really an option because it has to bring about too big casualty. So is this really plausible, possible, feasible option, which doesn't have this too much of a military casualty on Republic of Korea or Japan? This is point 1 we have. Second is there was a discussion that anyway, for regime survival, they will never abandon this option of military, nuclear or missile. So we have to live with it. In order to do so, we have to redouble our defense effort, including missile defense. Could that mean that we have to have offensive? Japan has to have offensive capability. It's like MAD that we had experienced during the Cold War. And can we really depend on the United States? That was the second point raised. Regarding that point, one thing I can say, as someone who have watched United States for some time, is that there was worried about decoupling. 20 years ago, there was real decoupling because missile extension was so limited. But now, it's more coupling than some time ago, because ironically, because of the missile extension. Third point was that it was mentioned that sanctions have not been exhausted. Oil and others are there, and we could seek a solution with North Korea, like we had with Iran. In that case, China's role is really key to that. How can we really get China on board? What would be the merit for China to really get on the board with the international community on this? These are some of the questions that have been raised and become more clear than before. Are there anyone who would, you don't have to address all those, but address those questions that have been raised? If so, please raise your flag and make your comment. Gephardt-san.
Yeah, thank you very much. Perhaps just 2 short remarks. I quite share the view that you explained as far as the coupling or decoupling of the feeling of the perception of the threat. I think is considerably has increased for the United States. It's also in an increased manner because if you look how many U.S. citizens live in South Korea, I think we have to take this into account as well. There are different numbers from 250 to 300,000, so that's quite a number. So that's also a link to couple the perception of the threat. And of course, U.S. citizens living here in Japan and feeling also this immediate threat. So it's not too far away. And the United States, they have to deal with this. As far as this other point, sanctions not exhausted. Of course, we might have a silver bullet as far as the sanctions on oil is concerned, yes. But the big challenge is how to bring China on board. support, but we always have to head in this directions. But notwithstanding this big issue, I think there are several other minor places where we can impose and strengthen our sanctions. For example, in Germany, we are trying hard now to shut down one of these minor places that's a commercial use of some part of the territory of the North Korean embassy. That's only a small part, but we are going in this direction. And Japan, you have been sanctioning some companies in Namibia, and I think this is also a way to impose much more sanctions, and to as far as foreign laborers are concerned, I think it's an overall topic. They are one of some of European member states, also in Namibia, also in Russia, and so I think there are many more also small loopholes we should shut down, and then always head in the right direction to impose more sanctions. Sanctions are not exhaustive. That's all.
Thank you very much. Tuan San first, and then followed by Yuta-san and Sadaka-san. Please keep raising your flag so that
I like your ideas and solution very much. And I have some ideas from Vietnam view. Vietnam has experience to solve issue in Myanmar with translate and new group with Aung San Suu Kyi and make reconciliation from two sides. I think now also Vietnam, we have Vietnam leaders and government have long traditional relationship with North Korea from Vietnam group, and can directly to talk and understand and what thing they need and what thing they worry, what thing they want to do. And we know that they worry very much about collapse the regime. Yeah. So how we can maintain that, can promise and can commitment, can combine and can negotiate and not open with them. That is that we only want to make them more peaceful and better country. But many countries have experience for that. As Vietnam opened the door for that, very worried about how to collapse in 1985, 1986 Vietnam. Also, as a time, leaders of Vietnam worried. They want to maintain teaching with older model. But now they change and they much better, special Vietnam and Japan relationship now. That means we can convince North Korean leaders. And also, I have ideas. In November this year, APEC we organized in Da Nang in Vietnam. So Donald Trump came. Said Donald Trump is a good program for the world today. But not only inside the US, but also many countries, alliance, and also Vietnamese. I came to talk with Vietnamese leaders and discuss with them. They respect relationship with the US, but they worry. What future Donald Trump can say and can do? So that is it. So that means Donald Trump cannot predict his. We cannot predict what Donald Trump will say will do. So North Korea leaders also they worry about that. So I think we can organize, set up a meeting dialogue only between North Korea leader Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. After APEC finished one day, so Donald Trump there and invite Kim Jong-un to come and talk. Japan and Vietnam can try to make it happen to convince them. I think that is one idea. So we have to meet and make them understand. All of us don't want to make them collapse and want to make them better. As Vietnam better after opens the door. in Cuba also better. Yes, so after open them. So I think that is ideas I discussed and talked with some people in Vietnam. They realize that idea that Vietnam can contribute for the world as Vietnam can do with Myanmar.
Thank you very much, Muto-san.
Thank you. Military option. I think any surgical strike is very dangerous, risky, because we cannot destroy the entire facilities that the North Koreans have. And once they strike back, the casualties will be too big. I think the military people are most cautious of any military action. And the Defense Secretary and General McMaster, they are not going for military action. I think we have to honor their views. So the best chances we have is to strengthen the sanctions against North Korea. But just squeezing of funds does not work. They don't care a bit how bad the situation might be in the remote areas of North Korea. If that starts affecting Pyongyang, they might become more sensible to the difficulties of the people. But as long as it is confined to the remote areas, they don't tear it down. So I think the only thing we can make them change their course is to make their military capabilities, nullify their military capabilities. And I think that is the ban of oil export to North Korea. Kim Jong-un is so cautious. He never visited overseas. He hides in those hideouts and tunnels. And he is very cautious, but at the same time, the North Korean situation seems stable at this moment. Nobody is challenging Kim Jong-un, but the famine situation might create more refugees. Back in the 90s, I think that North Korea had to accept those people moving around their country to get food. So that might create some instability within North Korea. And if China doesn't like it, we might have better chance of influencing Chinese that they have to do something to stabilize the situation. And I think the best chance we have is to work with the Chinese and to talk about the future of North Korea and how we should deal with them. Otherwise, I think any situation can make the matter worse and more difficult for Japan.
Thank you. Before going to Sato-san, as Muto-san said, in reality, virtually, the North Korea option is non-existent or cannot be possible. Would you like to comment on that, please?
Yes, I agree. Even if, the United States want to destroy Nodon and scrap missile site by B-6111, such as penetrate to ground, the so-called bunker buster. And also, they have long-range artillery up to the north of 38 parallel that could be sweeping out to the wide area sweeper, which is B-61-7. But there are no guarantee to, as you said, entirely destroy those long-range artillery and burst missile site. So I would say one of the indications for the United States to decide attack North Korea is declare non-combatant evacuation, such as maybe the President Bush announced the 48 hours evacuation before the United States going to attack Iraq. So that is one of the indication. And we may watch for hospital ship, which is stationed in the United States continent right now. They may deport to the Korean Peninsula. That is another indication. So I would say that the military solution is not a complete one, but we have to make such picture. Otherwise, North Korea will not give in, such as 1993 and 94. Yes.
I think what Muto-san and others have been saying is that if it's not really feasible, even if you say everything is on the table, they would think that, hey, that's not really possible to attack us. So this everything is on the table seems like President Obama's red line, and really it doesn't really
Red line.
it doesn't really affect North Korean thinking. It's not really realistic from that point of view. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. So that's why Kim Il-sung give in 1994. And also the Kim Jong, his father, is just given in 2002. So we need so strong military option and then pressure for them. They may give it.
If there's any one who would like to comment on this, please do figure. What else?
Yes, I'd like to comment the some discrepancy. We try to maximize pressure with the military, but a military option is impossible. That's clearly discrepancy. That probably may work in case. Of course, as the Otto-san pointed out in the past, yes, the same thing. The 90s, of course, maximum the pressure and the military option, but at the time, the situation is very similar too. I think South Korean leader asked the US leader not to conduct military attack because they don't sacrifice the people in the South. So, but at the same time, North Korea may calculate. I think, President Trump may think of a very, very wild one, so-called madman theory. So psychologically, it's still feasible to make a pressure over the North Korea. But clearly the agreement, our side, is probably the military, the preemptive action is very, very difficult. So the conclusion, as Muto-san says, maximize the sanction, very effective.
Thank you, Sakata-san. Thank you for waiting.
I think I probably be seconding and thirding what's already been said, but I do have some questions as well. So this is all about how to reduce the North Korean nuclear and military threat, and to avoid a nuclear war, and at the same time try to make a peace, which might be precarious peace, but peace. And to do that, number one, yes, the military deterrent, I think, is enhancing the military deterrence is much more important right now. Creating this mad situation, unfortunately, but we do have to create a mutually assured destruction mad situation in order to deter any strike attack. American experts have said that we have to keep all options on the table, and a preemptive strike is the last resort.
Obviously, what can we do to Japan?
Yes, on Japan. So number one, we as in US, ROC Japan, vis-a-vis North Korea, have to create a mutually assured destruction situation, unfortunately. And that would include an offensive strike capability with US, Japan. That would be my ideal.
Japan as well.
Yes, US, Japan. We have to at least research and think about offensive strike capabilities. But it would be more assuring to our US ally to do it together. And also assure South Korea.
I'm sorry, offensive capability, what can you elaborate on that?
Strike capabilities, missiles, so to speak. But also in today's Yomiuri Shimbun, there was talk about laser strikes and so forth. So, but that's part of missile defense. But in any case, we have to have that, unfortunately, have that card of offensive capabilities plus defensive capabilities in order to create this mad situation. But But that's number one. But number two, sanctions are not exhausted. China and Russia has to really be serious about this. But in order to make China and Russia serious, we have to tell them that we have a dialogue option. So that's my comment on sanctions. But lastly, on the thirdly, the diplomatic solution, as has been mentioned by Mr. Bredner, if we are to have a diplomatic solution, probably it would end up in some kind of a six-party talk format. But six-party talks plus, it has to be a plus, plus as in better, more conditions, and also having perhaps having some EU input into it. And so my question actually is what kind of ideas can be learned from the Iran deal that the EU has directly participated in, because US experts are talking about learning about the Iran deal and so forth. So those are the three options, three measures that we have to, enforce, to strengthen in order to bring down North Korea's nuclear threat.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As to the military option, it could have been effective when if the military option had been taken in the 1990s before North Korea obtained nuclear capabilities or ICBM capabilities. But now I'm very much afraid that if a military option is taken now, we on the Japanese, American, South Korean side, we would sustain unbearable casualties. But still, we have to keep military option open to exert pressure on North Korea. As to the economic sanctions, as Sakata-san said right now, that we have to take not only China, but also Russia involved. About Russia, I read a report that Putin would have said that Russia would be ready to increase oil supply to North Korea. So how to take Russia on board is a very difficult question. And other than oil, Russia is accepting North Korean workers in Siberia. And they also opened, Russia opened up one of the ports to North Korean ship, the famous Mangyongbong ship, for increased trade and also to increase workers. Workers in travel to Siberia. Thank you. Thank you very much. Geppan-san, please.
Thank you very much. I think one of the most important points also is to keep a clear focus who is responsible for this crisis. And the most one that is responsible for this crisis is the leader in North Korea. I think that sometimes we leave it out of view. We are talking about some might be exaggerated rhetoric from Washington. Okay, we might not share every word, but nevertheless, the main responsible is not in Washington, but it's in North Korea. And I think we have to have a clear focus on this. This having been said, I would like to give some small personal remarks as far as the discussion about increasing or enhancing missile defense capabilities. Yes, I think Japan has to do utmost to increase and to enhance its defense capacities and together with its alliance partner. But I think one also has to be a bit cautious as far as the semantic is concerned. We very likely sometimes to talk about more offensive capabilities or strike capabilities. So I think this all has a deep impact on the perception in the international community, because Article 9 and the peaceful idea of Japan, that's international branding also. And I think, therefore, it's very important to find the right semantic for this increase of really justified in more enhanced missile defense measures. So it's hard to find, but perhaps some term could be to have more interceptive capabilities, because this knows when there's one missile flying to Japan, of course, then you don't have to wait, but it's not preemptive and it's not first strike capabilities, but in the perception in the international media, I think this gets a little bit confused then, and then I come back to my initial remark, then we leave out of view and our focus who is the main responsible, so to say. All of a sudden we have a discussion, oh, Japan is going into more armament and more offensive capabilities, and I think this is what nobody wants. Our clear focus is on the main responsible. So this is my personal remarks.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I think our missile defense capability is limited. If North Korea launch separated attack at the 4 to 5 practical missiles simultaneously, we can't defend that. And also, as I mentioned, that 114, that is the multiple launcher re-entry vehicle. So this is very difficult to shut down. So one of the solutions was the preemptive strike. And as I mentioned that the Japanese Aegis destroyer and US Aegis destroyer possess same vertical launching system Mark 41, but US possess Tomahawk, the long-range cruise missile, but Japan did not. Because of our defense, explicit defense-oriented policy derived from Article 9 of our Constitution. So so that is why North Korea betrayed Japan and then fly over the Hokkaido, not aim to the Guam Island because they are afraid to the retaliation.
Thank you very much. Are there other people who like to make additional comment? Please.
Thank you. I have a question to Ota-san. As we all know, China criticizes South Korea for adopting the third defense system. For us, in order to defend ourselves, does Japan need a third system or not?
Yes, I think we need that. It's much better capability for the missile defense, but I would say Aegis Archer is a much better option because the extended capability, not only the SM-3 burst missile defense, but also extend range for the SM-6 as well as the Tomahawk in future capability. So that is a much good option. And you mentioned that China criticized the third capability, the expand radar, but they already possess Russian S-400, and they can much better resolution capability to extend not only South Korea but also Japan. And China created the over-the-horizon radar in Mongolia. They can detect stealth fighter F-35 as soon as they fly up from Iraq. So that is Chinese behavior. They can criticize outside, and we can do that. But other countries cannot do that.
Other views? Watanabe-san.
Yes, I'd like to comment over who is responsible for the situation. Of course, U.S. is a key player, definitely, and I'm worried about U.S. administration because the all solution we put on the table would be conducted by clearly the U.S. considered by the U.S. The diplomatic attitude, diplomatic approach, and U.S. vacancy of Assistant Secretary of State for the Asia Pacific is a really big vacuum. And also, I don't see any special envoy over the North Korean issue. So coordination within the U.S. administration is a big question. So good news is now appointed the Assistant Secretary of Defense. So I really would like to have a U.S. really good functioning government on this issue.
Thank you very much. This was a very lively discussion, and we have. I don't say we've exhausted, but we have discussed important points. I will not try to summarize it, but those points that came up was that although military option is not seems really that feasible, we have to keep that open to because that would send an important message to North Korea. Second, we have to keep up with fortifying defense, and especially missile defense and other interceptive capabilities. When we say offensive capabilities, we have to be very careful that not to let people in the world think that we are changing the course of defense-oriented defense. That we have to have China, Russia, those countries engaged more to have effective sanctions, and that depends a lot on U.S.-China dialogue. Fourthly, we should not close the door of dialogue with DPRK, although the leader seems determined, and some kind of bilateral dialogue or 6-party plus or whatever those discussions should be still always on the table for them to come back. But we should not have the illusion that this is what they are really thinking. I'm not trying to summarize the discussion. Maybe I have left something over, but this is the impression I've got from the day. Now, I would like to say that as we have discussed for about an hour, we'll have about 10 minutes break and start discussions about surrounding issues, in a way, our relations with the Republic of Korea and our relations with China and other issues, of course, maybe with the United States as well, which all would affect this North Korean issue. So let's talk about those issues after the break. Thank you very much.
Thank you.